Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Finding Fertility podcast. I'm Monica, your mentor in uncovering the hidden layers of your fertility journey. Together, we'll discover the right path for you within the 6 essential steps to creating the family of your dreams. We'll ditch the overwhelm, tune into your intuition, and build a vibrant foundation for your fertility. Whether it's through gut health, subconscious healing, or energetic alignment, you can unlock your body's natural power to get and stay pregnant. Your fertility journey is all about radical responsibility and deeply believing that your body is on your side. It's time to stay consistent, embrace trust, surrender, and create the transformation you deserve. Finding Fertility does not diagnose, prescribe, or treat any fertility issues. What we do is empower you to take control of your health by uncovering the root causes holding you back. Let's do this together. Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I am so honored you are here becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Today, we have Tanya the Herbalist on, spitting her wisdom for us. We were obviously having some pre-podcast chat and it was flowing, so I didn't want to stop it. So you're gonna hear a little bit of, inside chat, and then I'll jump into welcoming her to the podcast and we'll flow from there. So without further ado, let's get to today's episode.
On autoimmune, and she's got Lyme disease. And she tried, when I say for years, every single thing, every naturopath told her, US doctors, Canadian doctors, all of the stuff, nothing was working with her symptoms. When she started to try to figure out who she was outside of a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
and be able to create more of a purpose for her, and that distraction of like, oh, I'm meant for something greater. It's not just externalizing that. Her symptom, it's like she forgot about her symptoms.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
One of the biggest reasons why women have, and it's probably a podcast question, but I think it's good. One of the biggest reasons why women suffer with autoimmune more than men, like a significant amount more, I want to say 75% of women, if not more, is I believe 100% because they lack progress, internal progress. That means that they're running on autopilot of taking care of everybody else and the illusion of busyness in their day-to-day life, but never fully progressing themselves. And when I say progressing, that means regularly, working on their self-care, like just happiness self-care, not like, oh, I have to go get a spa because now I've checked off self-care off of my list. I'm talking about like genuine progress where you have a goal, you meet that goal. Like meeting goals creates such a dopamine rush for people and it creates that happiness. And then also achieving those milestones, it gives you a sense of purpose. And when you have that sense of purpose in life, you kind of go about life differently. You mother differently, your relationships you approach differently. And then because of that, your body is no longer in survival mode, which is the threshold that most people just stay on because they think it's normal. And that survival mode literally depletes your entire immune system. It's releasing so much cortisol to your body, and that will keep the symptoms there, it'll keep the inflammation, it'll keep all the issues in your body.
Yeah. Well, the podcast has already started because you're on fire.
Okay.
So welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Finding
you.
Fertility. Introduce yourself because I know our listeners are going to be like, who is this?
I love it. So, I mean, most people know me as Tania the Herbalist. My name is Tanya Kazal, and I stick around with Tania the Herbalist because I found, to be honest with you, I didn't even know herbalism was a thing. I didn't even know the term existed until I watched my mom on her deathbed from too many pharmaceuticals. And I'm talking about narcotics like oxys, ziplicone, the whole 9 yards for over a decade. And doctors just left her on her deathbed. And I get like my drive and my ambition, I get that from her. So to see that person on their deathbed, we're no longer talking, no longer coherent, falling asleep in the middle of conversations, it took me into a very dark path. And I'm talking about, obviously I had my own issues at the same time, but I had chronic anxiety, Monica, for like 2 years where I would puke every single morning. And I had insomnia. Like I never slept at night to the point that I was like, oh, I guess I'm just that person that has insomnia.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had endometriosis, right? Which is a whole other topic. I had endometriosis, which I totally believe is induced by the HPV vaccine, which is a conversation for another day. But I had IBS, I had indigestion, I had all of the things. And so I got to a dark place and I said, okay, like what now? Like it can't get any worse than this. And so I decided to take some time off work, which by the way, I was at the peak of my corporate career. Like I'm talking about me and my husband paid for it to travel to Barcelona, Vienna, all of the things like Malta. It was paid for. Life was supposed to be great on the external front, but internally I was dying a slow death. And I took time off work. I learned meditation for the first time ever in a sense of just like, I got to ground myself. I really got to ground myself. And it's like, I had an aha moment where I do believe that when you quiet yourself long enough, it's like that inner voice starts to get louder. And usually it's whispering to you, but it got louder for me. And it was like, there must be something natural that I could do for her. I went pen to paper, got my very first book on medicinal herbs. She became my guinea pig. She got off of her narcotics. The doctors couldn't believe it. And then I just fell in love with it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got to find out about, oh, herbalism is a thing. Okay, I'm going to study it. I'm going to do all of the stuff. And so that's how my journey into this natural world started. And then, of course, that evolved into a place of, I healed my own issues. Like I no longer had anxiety. I no longer had insomnia, IBS, even endometriosis, right? I was told, hey, you're not going to have kids. So after we got married, we're like, okay, let's try for kids like right away because it could be years. We don't know. Boom, pregnant on the honeymoon. I was like, okay, well, there wasn't much time for that. So I'm a strong believer of that way of living, and it's evolved into teaching other people how to do the same, teaching other people how I built my business the same, and yeah, how I balance it all and all the things.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple when you look at how the human body is just this natural healing machine. And if you just give it the right things, it will do what you want it to do. I know that you've had some big life issues in your own personal life. Do you, can you look back now and kind of see, oh yeah, tick, that led to this led to that led to this, and all these chronic issues piled up until you hit your rock bottom, and then you could start unpacking what was going on?
I first want to say I love your Defender Shield headphones.
Thanks.
Um, so funny that you say that because personally think, and I've uncovered it like crazy, and this is like my baby right now, is relationships and communication. And the reason why I say that is because one of my most toxic relationships that I was in, it's like I had an aha moment where I was like, oh my God, if I stay, I'm gonna end up sick like my mom. And that made me realize that I truly believe most of that happens, like that aha moment is in the conversations that you're not having. People don't realize how much suppression is going to destroy your body, probably more than drinking alcohol, which obviously I don't believe in and I don't drink alcohol, but I'm just saying, like, we think about these external things that we avoid in order to live a healthy and happy life, but that suppression is far more dangerous. Or just being around that negative energy, they're pulling you down, they're destroying your intuition, they're making you doubt your own inner voice. All of these things, that made me realize that that had more of an impact on my health than anything else that I was doing, because that suppression, whether it's pursuing your passion and your purpose, whether it's in the relationship that you're in or the conversations that you're avoiding with your loved ones or the conversations you haven't had and cut people off and all of the things, I would say that like those suppressed expression and connections and communication is the most if that's even a word, untalked about thing in the entire health industry, but I think is one of the biggest driving factors into being unhealed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the women that are coming into our lives now, right? They're like mirrors. They're seeing like, okay, we seen you have done the physical stuff. We know the herbs, we know the supplements, we know the diets, we know the yoga, the meditation, but, but, and I think the reason why that emotion, the frequency, the energy catches up with you is because unlike a drink, it's with you 24/7, where drinking or the other inflammation that can get us, for most of us, it's a healthy habit, right? Like, most people listening to this podcast, but those stuck emotions, that stuck energy is just 24/7. And I just spent a weekend away in Wales with some friends, and it really dawned on me, like really hit me hard. Like everyone's a really good liar, right? In front of like there was like almost
Same.
30 of us in this group, and if you weren't having the little side conversations, everyone just thought everyone was all loved up, everyone's so happy and all that. And I'm like, man, we're all just really good liars around this table. And for the people who are, you know, not doing the work or even understand that there's work to be done,
Right.
that's where you're eventually going to get called out. Whether it's with your fertility, your chronic health issue, like your sister with the Lyme, or maybe in your 50s and 60s, where you finally hit that wall, you just can't escape from it.
I think it's if people understood the power behind mirror work so much more, where they're so scared to face their own inner demons because it's scary and they think that they're going to crumble, but
Mm-hmm.
it's actually the opposite. And a lot of the times it's obviously our ego and our pride that don't want to admit that my marriage is not where I want it to be. My relationship with my loved ones is not where I want it to be. My health is not where I want to be. But God forbid I know so much about holistic health and healing that I should never say that because then my credibility is going to be doubted. And all of these things versus saying like, I'm human. It's okay. Where's that going to go? I had a client of mine years ago that I worked with, and she came to me because she had cancer. And she has been for years eating organic. I think she runs like the kilometer marathon, like every single day or weekly. She's so healthy, super healthy. And she's like, how did I get cancer? And after working with her for a while, it was uncovered that she hasn't spoken to her mom in years.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't think much about it. She was justified in her reason of not speaking with her mother.
Mm-hmm.
She was justified. But that doesn't mean that she was living in misalignment. And so I asked her a tough question, and I bring this up to a lot of people. My husband was abandoned by his mom when he was 14 years old. She lives with us now. So you better believe I made sure that we repaired that relationship because I know it's going to affect you a lot more than you realize. And I had the conversation with her. I said, okay, what she did was not right to you. But if she died tomorrow, how are you going to cope? Are you okay with it? And I'm that person that gives that tough love. And it kind of just was like, well, I don't really have a choice. And I said, but you do. And so are you okay with it? If you're 100%, I don't care. If she died tomorrow, it literally does not affect my life. Okay. But almost rarely is that ever the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pulled her into, let's see it from her perspective. What she did was wrong, but what's her story? How are her parents with her? How was her marriage? How was her relationship? What did she do? Because this is her first life too. And we tend to forget about that when it comes to our loved ones. It's their first life too. And it's like in one conversation, Monica, it's like her whole life came before her eyes and she completely broke down and she was like, oh my God, I need to call my mom. I need to call my mom. She went into remission. She went into all of these things. And within a short period of time, she was like, I literally don't have cancer anymore. I don't even feel the symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing is you're only going to pattern the way you were taught to pattern. And
That's exactly it.
if it's, un you get to choose. Is it going to be you who breaks it and does the hard work? Because we're not going to
That's it.
sit here and say that it's
You're right.
easy, or are you going to pass it on? And that's your
I
two choices. And I do believe most people try to do better. You know, I can see it in my family on both sides. My parents didn't beat us, which unfortunately my parents both got beaten. But I explain my father passed away last year due to not taking care of his own internal BS and and drinking. But my mom I can have these conversations with now. And she was a middle child of 9 and people pleaser. No, it's fine. It's the past. No, da 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 da. And she couldn't understand that we had a broken relationship, even though she was like the dominant parent. And I pointed out one day, I said, do you remember you used to always just say your mother didn't love you and that you were a daddy's girl? I said, do you understand that that's what you taught me? Even though I know you loved me, you couldn't show me the type of motherly love because you never got it yourself. And you always pushed the male figure because that's what happened in your life. And this, like, little emoji head, like just went off on her. And until you have that radical honesty with yourself or someone else brings it up for you and you're willing to look at it, it will just be there. just
Yeah.
festering away. And it's your choice when you're getting the physical ailments, when you're doing everything right, to be willing to go, okay, I see that there is this different path. What, in your experience, is the breaking point for people when they're finally ready to do that inner work?
I mean, I think the breaking point looks different for everyone, of course, but there comes to a point where you feel like it can't get any worse. Like I can't, when that feeling, a lot of the times people are literally waiting for that breaking point, which a lot of times shows up in a sickness where you're getting like really sick because you're ignoring the whispers. It turns into a scream and your body kind of shuts down. But a lot of the times it's so subtle too. And it's when it's like that, I'm waking up with like, oh, I feel unsatisfied. I have anxiety. It's like autopilot. I'm in survival mode. Like, is this all it is? Like the moment you're starting to think like, when am I going to get my breakthrough? Is this going to be the life forever? Am I going to catch a break? Like when your mind starts to think that way, you're already hitting that breaking point. You're in survival mode. And the longer you're in survival mode, you're bound to get sick, autoimmune, go into depression, mental health issues, snapping at your partner, snapping at your kids, all of those things. So that's typically what I see. And then, of course, there's the other breaking point where it literally is your body screaming at you and you have no choice and you're forced into listening. It even shows up, like I'm a strong believer in terms of the energetics. Sometimes it shows up in like if you notice that things just keep happening because you have bad luck, that's a sign in itself too. Oh, I just got into an accident. Oh, I just got this unexpected bill. Oh, this just happened. Oh, I got to say, oh, now my kid got sick. Oh, and it's like a constant thing of after thing that you have to deal with and you feel like you can't catch a break. That
Mhm.
is literally God telling you, hello, I'm trying to get your attention and you're still not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. There's just going to be a sign and symptom again and again and again until you take that responsibility of like, hey, how am I acting in the mundane? Because I think everyone's looking through for the breakthrough in the healing sessions, in the breath work, in the yoga, in the herbalism and stuff. And those are all essential, right? Finding your perfect modality for you. But when my life radically changed is when someone said, like, what's your default energy? What are you thinking and feeling when you're washing the dishes, when you're driving your car, when you're folding your laundry, when you're at
Mhm.
work? What stories are you playing out? What ruminations? And I was like, ooh, that like, I don't want to raise my hand, but like it wasn't good. And then it dawns, just like you say, well, that's what I'm creating. That is what I'm
Exactly.
putting out into the world. Yes, I'm doing all the right things, but the reality is that default energy is actually the projection of your life.
I feel like one of the biggest things that I've noticed is 100% most people have no idea what their purpose is.
Mhm.
And what you love to do for fun is not necessarily a purpose. Just because you learned about something and want to share about functional medicine or herbalism, whatever, it doesn't mean it's your purpose. And like a lot of the times when you're not pursuing that purpose, it's like you're just slowly dying inside. And that slow death will create so many symptoms in your body. And then when I say what is autoimmune, are those tests even accurate? What is it really telling you? All of that. It's just more your body telling, like, I'm trying to speak to you. I think that the biggest thing that helped my symptoms wasn't even herbalism, though it did build resilience. I love my skull cup. I love all those because it's helped me be more vibrant. But I can say that by far the biggest thing was trying to find my purpose and pursuing it, where I constantly just felt like I'm so excited for life because I'm building something bigger and better than my current situation.
Mhm.
And when people are stagnant, when people are stuck and not progressing, that is going to kill you faster than anything else you can do. And
Mhm.
that's why they say stress is the number one killer, is because you're not alone, no longer excited about life. You're surviving life. You're
Mhm.
getting through. I'm just driving my kids. I'm going back home. I'm cooking dinner, winding down, watching TV, going to sleep, and repeating it. So we're programmed to want to become better versions of ourselves. And if you're not doing that, it's crazy. And I'm positive that most of those people in that room that you talk about have probably graduated and stopped there and did the same thing on autopilot for so long that they no longer are aware of what their purpose is. And your purpose is not end all be all. Your
Hmm.
purpose evolves as you evolve as a person, right? My purpose was herbalism, and then it became teaching entrepreneurs how to build their business. And now it's teaching women how to actually find their four pillars from their purpose to their relationships, to their inner world, and all of the stuff. And it evolves as you evolve. So that's the thing, is because you constantly are moving that. It's like that future vision of yourself and what success is. And I had someone, actually, I was on a podcast earlier today, and she asked me, what does success mean to you? And when people ask that, what does success mean to you and what does success mean to other people? Almost all the time, people are like, well, success is when I'm able to, like, okay, retire from work, or success is when I'm making 10K months, 20K months, success. And I was like, okay, why? Like, what are you going to do with that 10K? What are you going to do with that 20K? What are you going to do when you retire? They almost never have an answer.
Hmm.
And success to me is like, I want to be able to travel the world with my kids so that they can experience that abundance and go around and learn the different things. And success to me is being able to take my parents with me to make sure that they're comfortable and to be able to help the needy in this. Okay, so paint the picture of the life that you actually want to live in that success, then reverse engineer it. Okay, this is the life that I want. This is success to me. How am I going to make it happen? Okay, how much money do I need to make to be making this happen? Perfect. How am I going to make that kind of money? Where do I start?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
reverse engineer it, and now you have a picture that's so much bigger than you versus monetary based. And if people, like, honestly, if everyone just did that and worked towards it every single day, even if it's baby steps, they would feel that sense of fulfillment. And that sense of fulfillment could honestly probably eliminate so many of the symptoms that people experience.
Even just to bring it down, it's just joy. Like you, like
It is.
is if you're watching, like I always say, pretend your baby's watching you. And when you take that radical honesty, and a lot of people, when you get into the thick of a fertility struggle, you lose all joy and love and passion on
Exactly.
so many
You're
different
stressed.
levels, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that has all the physical implications, but what about that spiritual and that energetic side of you? And as much as that baby or those babies are going to bring you joy, they are not the entire whole fulfillment for most. Like, I don't want to pigeonhole everyone,
100%.
but there's always going to be things that you need to continue to light that fire to be able to show up in motherhood, because they have done a very good job to sell motherhood um in a different light. And I don't know if you recognize as well, like when my kids came around, I didn't really work on the energetic stuff. My journey was very physical until it wasn't. And it was my kids who started opening up these conscious things like, like that. I didn't
Absolutely.
know that triggered me. Oh, that, like, oh, that really pisses me off. Where did that come from? Because I consciously don't feel that way, but in my body, I feel rage that you are crying over a red popsicle, not a blue popsicle. Where is that stuck emotion? And then you start unpacking your past, which for a lot of people who are doing everything physically right, that's just the next step.
Yeah, your kids honestly are going to break you and take you to your knees and make you face your inner demons that you probably avoided for a very long time. And I have seen it. I have worked with clients who have struggled with fertility for years, done IVF, done all the things, finally fall pregnant. And one particular person I'm thinking about, she crashed into such a bad postpartum,
Hmm.
and the arguments with her and her husband, the issues that they were having and everything like that, it was like, yes, the baby was the best thing that ever happened to you and everything. But if you were just listening to the signs and took that moment in before and say, okay, where needs to be repaired before we bring this child into the world so that this child who's feeding off of me is not carrying this energy, right? And it's so powerful because we feel just like we do when we're growing up, and you think that you find that perfect relationship and all your inner wounds are going to be gone when you find your love, which is actually not true. A lot of people think the same thing happens with kids.
Yeah,
And they
exactly.
think that a kid is going to come, they're going to fix my problems.
Hmm.
It is going to bring your freaking problems to the surface 10x. And
Absolutely.
if you're not dealing with those problems, be ready for that afterwards. And even if you have one kid now, you probably understand for the listeners, but then the second kid's going to bring up new problems. and the third one, and all of it. It's like new shit's coming up. It's getting deeper and deeper inside of you. And so it's like, for me, just use it as excitement and be like, okay, God loves me so much that he wants me to take a moment, just take a moment and work on myself and find that joy. Like you said, the joy, the play. People, you know how many adults don't even know how to play anymore?
I
Like
know.
have that deep belly laugh, that deep belly laugh where you're like, okay, stop. I actually can't breathe. I can't laugh anymore. And they don't. It's like they forget how to play and have that fun. And I think it's so incredibly important, especially as you're going to step into a journey of your life that's going to test you and break you and build you in so many beautiful and powerful ways.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the most uh such an honor, a role that you play here on earth, that you get to steward these souls through and guide them and shape them. And it's just not talked about enough that you can only do the best that you know how. And that's not consciously, because consciously I was Mary Poppins. I was going to be the Pinterest mom. I had 20 years of early education behind me before I had my own kids. And the subconscious, like, I couldn't sit and play with my kids because I was like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And it wasn't until, you get cracked open and you're like, oh, I am patterning the same way my mother patterned. And I love my mother, but I don't want to be my mother or how she was. And a lot of women have those blocks inside of them. And I truly believe that we are in a point of time that we need more conscious mamas sooner.
Consciousness is not like, when people hear consciousness, they're like, yeah, I'm conscious. But it's like, okay, you might be conscious about your inner world, but are you conscious about your relationships? Are you conscious about your communication? Are you conscious about your purpose? Are you conscious? Like, that's why I call it the 4 pillars of life. Most people are thriving in 1 to 2 pillars and pay zero attention to the others.
And we are going to pause right there. I know, you guys, but let's just pretend it's 1989 for those who are alive, and it's TGI Friday, and you have to wait for that cliffhanger of Full House. I hope you have a beautiful weekend, and we will see you next Friday for another episode of Finding Fertility. Thank you once again for tuning in and becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Remember, I wasn't some magical unicorn who stumbled into fertility success. I stayed consistent, I put in the work, and I made it happen. And guess what? You can too. And I have something for my loyal podcast listeners, but here's the key. This is only for women who are feeling burnt out, frustrated, and stuck in the cycle of endless research. And you're at a point where you are screaming, I have tried everything. Why isn't this working? This only works for women who are ready to take a radical responsibility for their journey and start listening to their body's innate wisdom. Because deep down, you can heal and achieve your ultimate goal. If that's not you yet, that's okay. Not everyone is ready yet to show up with ease, deeply connect to their energy, unlock subconscious patterns, and listen to their body's ability to come into full coherence. But for those who are ready, I'm offering something I only do with my paying clients, and this is a fertility breakthrough session. This is the first thing I do, even before I start really deeply working with someone in a coaching package. It's a deep dive session where we look at exactly where you are right now, what's keeping you stuck, and the easy shifts that can change everything. But fair warning, these sessions are very limited and go fast. So if you're interested in checking out my superpower for uncovering exactly what's been overlooked, jump into one of these free calls. They're deep, they're intuitive, and they're game-changing. The only way you can access this is if you actually personally message me. You can do it on your favorite platform, IG, TikTok, or at my personal email, monica@findingfertility.co. Not .com, because they wanted $3,000 for the M, with just one word. And that word is dreams, obviously, DREAMS. And I'll make sure you get that link right away. Remember, this transformation happens when you stay committed to yourself. Trust your body,
Follow your intuition, make it possible. The links that you need are down below. And if you are still here and you absolutely love this podcast, please take some time and leave me a review and help other women like you find this podcast to get the support they need. Help a sister out. Leave a review today.